Welcome to Key Conversations, a Making It in the Music Business podcast. My goal for this podcast is to help you learn from these conversations with both experts and working musicians and serve as a guide to assist your career in the process. I'm your host, Cheryl B. Englehart. Let's get going. Today is our last episode of season 3, and I'm so happy to be spending it with Matthew Mayer, who is an amazing musician, piano player extraordinaire, just came out with Beautiful You, which debuted #1 on the Billboard New Age chart. So Matthew, you're like famous in my eyes, so thank you for being here.
Well, you're famous in mine, and it's an honor to be here. So thank you for having me. I'm a big fan of yours. And when you wrote to invite me on your podcast, I was like, awesome. Would love to be here. So thanks so much for having me.
This is awesome. So first of all, for anyone that's listening, Matthew Mayer, that's MAYER.com, as you got to go there and like listen to all his music. And he hangs out on Twitter at Mayer Solo Piano. So go follow him there. And this will be all in the show notes as well. But let me just start. Let's get the picture of Matthew. So give me like 2 or 3 transitions in your life that like stick out that got you to having a #1 Billboard album.
That's a great question. Those transitions happen over a long period of time. So if I'm going to think of 2 to 3, I'm going to think the first is when I started music, which was when I was 12. I come from a very small town of about 700 people, and walked across the street, and I took lessons from a guy named Art Cooper, who really taught me how to expand my creativity. And so I'm very grateful for that. And then I released my first album in 1999. I'm not going to give away my age here, but that was almost 20 years ago. Actually recorded it in 1998. So it's almost in the fall. So it's almost exactly 20 years ago, the first album recorded. And then since then have just been a DIY musician. And the last album was album number 12. So it's been 20 years of just continuing to stay with the solo piano genre. So
that's kind of amazing because, I have it that we're like the same age or something. So that makes sense. So you did your first album when you were 7 is what you're saying. Just kidding.
That's what I'm saying. I was 6. It was 6, but I was close to 7. I wasn't, It was right before my 7th birthday.
So that's kind of fun. So 20 years later, after working that hard, making 12 albums, you get a #1 on Billboard. That's awesome.
Yeah. It was, I can honestly, that happened in September. I can honestly still get a little emotional thinking about it just because it was an absolute dream come true. So
let's just jump. Well, we can go back and talk about other transitions, but let's just jump to the Billboard stuff. Let's just get there because this is like a dream of so many artists, and your music is so accessible and so beautiful. And so tell me the process of how that happened for this album. Like, what did you do differently for this album that became the result?
Yeah, no, great question. So I think every album that you put out, especially as an independent artist, you're taking notes and you're figuring out what works. And you also have relationships within the industry that kind of help you say, hey, you start to figure out when are you going to set your release date? You start to figure out how are you going to market yourself? And then you look at things like your budget and how are you going to be smart with your marketing dollars? And how are you going to form a team around you to be the most efficient that you can when you're doing it all on your own? So you're figuring all those things out. So all of these lessons that I learned, I finally was like, okay, I got to be a little more patient on this release. I can't just record. I think so many times artists want to record something and then 2 weeks later they want to release it because they're excited. They got something creative out there. They want to get something out there. And that was, I'm not going to say it's a mistake that I've done, but that is what I did a lot of times. I didn't put in the patience and the discipline to set up a long timeline and to think about this not as, okay, I'm going to record now and release it next month, but what if I record now in the spring and then release it late summer or in the fall? And then how can I backtrack that? And what are the steps that I can do along the way that's at least going to give me that chance? So those are all little things that I would start to reframe my mind when I was coming out with this and say, if I want to give myself a chance and have a goal of even top 10 of Billboard in the for me, it was New Age. What are the things I have to do? And then I got to break that down, and then it's putting in the work and doing those steps day in and day out, which because you do that all the time with the things that with so much of you do with DIY. So it was really learning from the past and then putting a plan in action, with the understanding that just because you work your plan, it doesn't necessarily mean there's definitely aspects of luck involved in this as well. You don't know who else is coming out with an album on that same time. You don't know who else is going to release on that same week. And not only that, but understand, I'll stop there. I could go on and on here. So I'll stop there.
I love it. And I really, really love, because I say this all the time, especially for myself and when I'm working with coaches, is to plan your work and work the plan.
Right.
Without a strategy. Strategy is like my buzzword for myself these days. But the strategy really is just connecting whatever I need to create with the goal that I want. And at some point they'll collide, but without a strategy, you're just throwing spaghetti to the wall and seeing what sticks. So it's really cool to hear that what you've learned over the year. And I'm working on my 5th record right now. So
it's awesome.
It's definitely been like want to get it out. And, one of my records, I released one song a month for a whole year. Yeah. That was like the wrong way to there are definitely learning curves here.
Right.
But with this digital age, there's so many tools like pre-saves and pre-sales and all this stuff that you've got a time for. And your email campaigns, you all know I'm the email, I can go on geek out on email forever.
Love your email stuff. And just a public service announcement for Cheryl. If you haven't taken her course, do it. I've done it. Awesome.
Oh my gosh. I don't think I know that. Yes, I did. Yeah,
I think you did. But I think what you're also touching with email that we would probably get to in a part of this conversation is connection with people. And that is a whole nother side to, I think, what we're going to touch on here.
Awesome. Yeah. So we'll get there, because you also have a fantastic fan base. I mean, you have a ton of Twitter followers. Yeah. We'll get to the connection, because you're clearly doing something right there. You're really engaged on your social media platforms. You're it's just always so lovely. I always feel like having you as a follower is such a blessing, just because I know that's how you engage with people.
I only paid you $20 to say that. I only paid you $20.
Oh my gosh. You didn't.
I appreciate that. I really do.
But so I definitely want to get into that at some point. But first you said, okay, you figured out when you're going to release, when you're going to finish the record, because those are two very different dates. A lot of us like to collide those two together. They are very different, maybe even different seasons. Like you said, spring we finish, fall we release. So then you said you work back. It's if you want to be in the top 10 of the Billboard, you have to take certain actions. What are 3 of the top things that you did this time that you think directly got you on that chart?
Well, first I would
share your secrets.
Oh yeah. No, it's funny because I actually want to touch on your comment you just made of sharing your secrets. I think so many times we think there are secrets, and there are no secrets. It's what we've been told. And again, I'm probably because I'm just a stubborn person anyway, but it's what I've been told all my life that, hey, you got to engage your fans. You got to do this. And I would say, so when I think about that, I laugh because what I'm about to say is not going to be this earth shattering. Oh my God, he gave me the answer. It's not going to be that. I rewind it to the fact that I took time to really look at all of the people, and I mean all of the people that have supported me since 1999, since the days at the University of South Dakota, since the day, and a lot of them came from my town. So a lot of them right there, there's 7, if you think about it, if you think about the power of, I want to write a book someday that says, congratulations, you're so lucky you came from a small town. Because so many times it's looked at like a disadvantage. And I'm like, so many people supported me. So, I mean, one of my very best friends since I was 4, I mean, he helped me campaign with Beautiful You and we did t-shirts. We had a message out there. We had,
wait, just so you know, for people that are listening to this instead of watching the video, which you can watch at indekey.co/325, he's pointing to a monkey behind him that has a t-shirt that says Beautiful You. I think that's a very important point we need to make. Okay, carry on.
Well, I can't quite reach him, but I would have reached him. But yes, you're right. That's Steve. And he's wearing the Beautiful You shirt.
Yes.
Hashtag Beautiful You. Check it out. But
so carry on. Your friend helped you
yeah, my friend helped me get a campaign, and then other friends came together and be like, oh yeah, but I had to ask, and I had to be okay with saying, hey, will you help me on this? Like, I need you to, if you like this music, I would be honored if you would wear this shirt. I can't tell you how many free shirts I gave out, but then all of a sudden people were wearing these shirts from my hometown. People that used to live in my hometown, they're wearing them where they lived in San Diego, Colorado, and all that stuff. And now all of a sudden you've got this campaign of more than just the music. Like, I would like to say that again, as a musician, I would love to say like, oh my God, that was just the best music ever that you're going to hear. But the reality is there's a lot other better music out there. But the reality is I had support from other people. The reality is that it was other people that really got me. So going back to your connection, and again, one of the non-earth shattering things I'm going to say is you have to take all those relationships that you've built, and you cannot be afraid to go back and reach out to them and say, hey, it would mean the world to me if you would share this, or email them. There was several people, because I had actually got the physical albums before the release date through, and I go through CD Baby, and that's where, again, Cheryl spoke at the CD Baby conference in Nashville in August. But I would actually, to my friends, I would actually give them a free album and say, if you like this, if you listen to it and if you like it, just please share it. Please share it on social media. Please comment on it. It would mean the world. And I think I'm a little different that way because I've given away a lot of things. I've given my music away a lot in the return of, hey, I need you to help me out here. I need you to help me make connection with your friends. And that started months before the release even happened. So,
yeah, of course.
So building that momentum, and then another thing I did different was I was telling a lot of people what I wanted to do. I was telling people what my goal was. I was saying, hey, I'm an independent musician. To try to get on top 10 Billboard, here's what I can do. You talked about pre-save campaigns and all those things. Again, that CD Baby helped set me up with there as well. There's all these things you can do, but then I have to be, again, a little more vulnerable and say, will you help me? I did some email communications out that said, will you help me chart on Billboard? And then bringing them and educating them on what my goal was and how they're playing a role in that. Because then this happened, but again, that's where I go back to saying it was because of support of other people. It wasn't because of,
and it was your willingness to not wait for someone to find you and help you. You went out and said, hey, can I, and honestly, like, I spent my first 2 records, like, hoping someone would hear me and then go do something with it. But really the people are there. You just have to ask them. And I love that. And your story is very, very similar to Jamie Kent, who's a country artist. And he was in season 1, go back and listen to his interview. He said, for 6 months, and this is years ago, he said, I'm an indie artist. I want to be the first independent artist on the Billboard Top 10, the Billboard Top 20. I think
that's awesome.
And so for 6 months, he toured a lot. Every tour, he said, pre-buy this and it was a pre-sale on iTunes. And just for those who don't know, if you pre-save on Spotify or pre-sell a track on iTunes, all of the sales, no matter how far in advance, they all count for the day that your album releases. Right. And that's what Billboard, that's what the numbers are looking for. Do I have that right?
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Not only the day of, and then it goes for that week. Mm-hmm. So that day of when it drops on a Friday, typically it's a Friday, so it gives you a longer period of time to get through that next week. All of those pre-saves count up to that.
Yep. And that's what Jamie did. And he was the first country indie country artist to land on the Billboard Top 20, and you're an indie artist you had the same thing. And, you know, I always use this in my pitching course. When you're really clear on what you want, then other people are going to be really clear too. So if you're saying, hey, come play this game with me, the game I'm playing is to be in the top 10 Billboard as an indie artist. This is what that takes. This is what it looks like. And you have to spell it out for your fans because they're not in the music industry. They might not even know what that means, but why is that a big deal?
That's right.
So I love that you did that and you were able to communicate that. And people love to be heroes. When you're a hero for someone, like they don't even need a thing. There's a social status element to it. That's like this is a very like caveman idea of social status. But when you get to save someone like that, like I use that word hero a lot because my fans are my heroes. Like it's not just like a semantics manipulation. It's like for real. So I love that you did all of that. And so you did the pre-save. Can you talk about the pre-save campaigns you did and pushes you did versus pre-sales?
Yep. So pre-saves was specifically on on Spotify, and Spotify was the biggest one, and that was kind of a newer thing. CD Baby had just come out with it. I lucked out on timing there.
Show.co is now owned by CD Baby, and if you're a CD Baby artist, you get free access to Show.co, which is one of 3 main platforms that you can actually go pre-save. You can't do it directly through Spotify. I'll put in the show notes a really awesome conversation that you can watch with Ariel Hyatt and I. If you go to inthekey.co/labs, we talk about this. But yeah, so it's you have to go through another platform. You can't go direct to Spotify. So carry on.
Exactly. No, I'm glad you explained that a lot better than I did because
that's great.
I was still figuring all these things out, and Show.co. So at the conference that you spoke at in August, I took advantage of the CD Baby office hours, and I went in and I was like, hey, I need you to just check my stuff out here. Do I have everything set up right? You know, I was having some issues getting it set up, and they were great. They set me up with Show.co. I blasted that out. And so I'm doing pre-saves. I'm doing pre-sales through sites like Amazon or Apple iTunes, and really getting the word out. And again, doing it in a way that's saying, I need your help, and not saying that in a begging way, but saying in a way that, here again, what you just said, my goal is X. Can you help me get there?
Yeah.
And without that, and telling them the full story that as an independent artist, you know, who you're just talking about, as an independent artist, to have a chance at this, these are the things I want to do, and I can't do them without you. So I love what you said about your fans. They truly are, you know, I think so many times if people say, well, I want to thank my fans, that if you take it down to the personal level, that is who gets you, who keeps your career going and who gets you to those goals. So
yeah, it's so exciting talking to you. It just makes it feel so possible. And tell me, what's the aftermath of being number 1 on the Billboard? First of all, does that just mean that you got a bunch of sales, and so financially that's a good thing? Like, what are the benefits of like if you were telling your fans like why that's important? Like, if they were like, so what do you say to them?
The biggest benefit for me, again, as an independent, is I think you're always trying to continue to build up. You're always trying to build up your brand. So this sounds a little bit this sounds a little bit surfacey, but one of the things is to be able to brand yourself now is I get the opportunity to say on any of my marketing items, or when I'm setting up a show, you know, number 1 Billboard charting artist, that is a title that you get, you know, because you've earned that. And that's something that the industry looks like and says, oh, okay, well, maybe he's kind of good. I don't know. Maybe I'll check that person out. So, of course, it gets your music to other people's ears that wouldn't necessarily listen to you. Sure. And those are all the things that you have to kind of, at some point in your independent career, you have to keep grinding it out, and you have to keep clawing your way to that next level of, okay, I've done this, or, you know, I've been recognized with a Parents' Choice Award. That's great, but you're constantly trying to build up your story and your brand. And for me, that goal of of Billboard. Again, my goal was top 10 to get number one, was truly mind blowing, because that is something that no one can take away from you and that you have, as you continue to market yourself and tell your story. So,
yeah, that's awesome. Any other results you've seen now that you're on the other side of being a number one Billboard artist?
You know what? I got up the next day and did pretty much the same thing that I did the day before. I think you just, it's not something that I think in our minds we say, okay, if I get this, my life's going to drastically change. It doesn't. What it does is it just, and you use the right word, it gives you that next step of confidence to say it's possible. Now, it's not easy. None of this is easy, as you know, of doing this almost similarly from a time frame perspective. If I was in this for something other than the art or the love of it itself, I would have quit on year 5. The fact is that what people don't see is that the first album was released in 1999 and recorded in 1998. Well, we're in 2018 now. So you have to take a long-term view of this. You have to be patient with yourself, and you just always have to be reaching. So there is no easy path to this, but those are those things that we've talked about that you can set up and do, but you got to take action. You got to be vulnerable. I had posted some vulnerable posts about this whole album before that as well, more vulnerable than I usually have been. Those are things you got to show your soul at the right times and have a feel of when to do that and when not to. So,
yeah, no, it's really great. Last week we talked with Jess Godwin, and we just had an amazing conversation about vulnerability and creating the space for other people to be vulnerable. And that's where connection shows up.
Yes.
And that connection with your fans is really what you're going for. And if you can do that in an email, a mass email to 10,000, to however many people on your list, like if you can master that vulnerability and make it feel really intimate, but still be able to send a mass email, like you're sitting on a gold mine, first of all. Yeah. Second of all, you're going to have the engagement that you need to do things like hit the Billboard number one. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you need hundreds of thousands of people to pre-order. Do you know what those numbers are? Like the average?
No, you know what? I don't know what those numbers are.
A few years ago, I heard that like a number one on iTunes could be a couple thousand sales, like 2,000 sales. Like it's not bananas numbers. They're big numbers, but like
no, exactly. It's not bananas numbers. It's achievable numbers. And it's going to depend on what chart you're going for, right? I mean. Yeah. I don't know what the classical chart of top 10 is compared to the New Age chart. Right. I don't know specifically how many pre-saves I got or how many sales I got through like Amazon. But when you're talking about this, and I love what you said, they're not banana numbers. But if you stopped and you looked at the people that you do know and the relationships that you have built all this time, you'll see that you have the opportunity to get those numbers that you want.
Yeah.
In your case, if you just said it, if you have a database of 10,000 people, and then you do it in the right way in which you communicate with them, in which you are connecting with them and bringing them on board, all these things are possible.
Totally. I said bananas for the monkey, really.
Steve loves that. I mean, he's a little tired. He's been working hard.
I love some bananas. We're going to talk about the song. What'd you say?
Does Oliver eat bananas at all, or does he?
Oliver eats anything. This is my basset hound. He's a garbage disposal. But that's beside the point. Dog. So two things left on my agenda. Yep. We might do a speed run at the end here. Okay. We have to talk about your song, but before we do, one of my favorite Grammy stories ever is meeting you. So I have to tell my story of meeting you. So that earlier this year, February, in New York City, my Grammy date was actually a young fan of mine. So I had a fan, and her daughter got to sing on one of my albums from one of my campaigns, on a fan funding campaigns. It was one of the prizes. Yeah. The girl it's been 5 years. So she ended up going to college for music. And so I decided to ask her to be my guest at the Grammys. So I was walking around with her, and I think we had heard someone say something about seeing someone famous. And I was like, it would be nice one day if someone just could recognize me. Literally said that. And I get on the escalator. I think I was on the escalator going up or something, or about to go up. And
I remember I was drinking coffee. That's all I remember.
Yeah, you were drinking coffee. And I hear Cheryl Englehart. And it was I have never, like, I felt so very magical in that moment because I literally just think it would be nice to be like recognized.
Be noticed. And I'm like, I noticed you because I had taken one of your courses. I'm like, that's Cheryl Englehart. Oh my gosh. Cheryl, you don't know me, but I took your course and really enjoyed it. Yada, yada, yada. Because you had done a webcast helping out. There was a lot of us were on that. And so I recognized you. I was like, oh my gosh. So yeah.
That was very cool. And then you were there because you're, and Beautiful You is on the Grammy ballot now. So we're both the Recording Academy members, which you can qualify for, and then you get invited to go to the Grammys, and it's kind of fun. So but that's where we met. And then, it's been history ever since I saw you.
And then we took a picture there, and then I had to recreate the picture when you were in Nashville when I saw you, and I said, hold on, I have a cup of coffee. So now every time I see you now, I got to hold a cup of coffee because that's fun.
He did not catch that. I did not remember that, mostly because I was definitely not drinking coffee. I was drinking something else. We don't have to talk about that. So tell us about this song that we're going to hear called You Are Enough.
Yep. So this is probably my, a lot of the CD is very minimal, but You Are Enough. There's a Facebook post that I posted about that. It's really about the message of you are beautiful just as you are. You are enough. And I always preempt and I say, right after I say that, I say, I know this sounds corny. Just hear me out. Just hear what my message is. But I think in this day and age, especially on social media, I've gone through these same feelings where you would look at somebody on social media and you're like, geez, this person just has it figured out. Or this person, their life is so great. Or just look at how beautiful they are, yada, yada, yada. And I think we can sometimes fall into a devaluing of ourselves, especially in this day and age of having instant access. And what this song is, and really what this whole album is about, is really a self-love and a self-actualization and a way to hand a flower to say, hey, I know you're busy. I know you got a lot going on, but you are beautiful. Don't forget that. Don't forget that in this day where it's so easy to fall in that trap of comparisons and thinking we're not. So that's the story behind it. There's a lot more backstory behind it on my Facebook page at Mayor Solo Piano, or would love to hear from you too on Twitter. So
there you go, guys. Let's listen to this song. I am so happy to have you go check out everything that Matthew has, MatthewMayer.com. And thank you for taking time out of your super busy day to talk to little me. Very much appreciate it. Yeah.
No, I think it's the other way around, but it's an honor to be here with you and to have gotten your email and all the work that you do, Cheryl. Thanks so much for what you do for independent artists like us. So keep up the great work. It's awesome.
Thank you. And that is a perfect note to end this season 3 on. Stay tuned for season 4. Lots more of awesome stuff. Not sure when that's going to happen. So, just go back and review all this great stuff in this season and season 1 and 2. So thanks for listening. Please don't forget to rate, like, and subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and YouTube if you like this podcast. Musicians like you keep me inspired and motivated. And for doing that, I'm offering you my Mastering Email 12-page workbook. It's packed with valuable exercises and information to get clear on implementing and mastering your email list strategy. This will help you figure out the best kind of platform for your specific goals, including a 7-step process to build, grow, engage, and monetize your list, all while feeling authentic and on brand with your music. Get your Mastering Email workbook at inthekey.co/masteringemail. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time on Key Conversations. The theme song on this podcast was provided by yours truly. If you're interested to find out more about my composing and songwriting projects, go to inthekey.co/Cheryl. If you're a musician looking to get some real results for your music career, then head to inthekey.co/results, where I've created a bunch of different kinds of resources just for you.
Key Conversations is sponsored in part by Bandzoogle. They make it easy to build a beautiful website for your music. Their step-by-step system gets you online in minutes, and you can choose from hundreds of mobile-friendly themes and customize them with their point-and-click editor. All of the features you can imagine for a possible website are built in. So, because you're a Key Conversations podcast listener, you get a special month free trial plus 15% off if you do decide to sign up. Just for you. Go to inthekey.co/make-a-site to get the offer.